itself out was you introduced me to the manufacturer or the source of creation itself. And yet this is still not something that's in my experience. Is this eventually something that will become in my experience? Is the source of creation something I'll actually be able to know for myself?
Right now you're mostly, not totally, but mostly enjoying only the effects of being introduced to the source of creation. If you have to know it totally, what is it that's limiting us? Let's understand this. See, right now this water, you don't experience this water as yourself. But over 70% of your body is actually water. So, in your life, the most important water body is your own body. So, this water that is within you right now was outside somewhere. Right now it's inside of you, so you experience it as myself, isn't it? So what is it that you call as myself right now is anything which is within the boundaries of your sensation, you call it myself. Now if you touch the water, that's not you, but if you drink it, it becomes you. So all that's happened is the water entered the boundaries of your sensation. So whatever is within the boundaries of your sensation is you. What is outside of your boundaries of your sensation is not you. This is your experience of life. This could have happened to you many times, it could have happened to everybody at some point in their life. When you're extremely happy, have you ever been so happy that tears came to you? If you've been happy or ecstatic in some way, if you just place your hands about 6 to 8 inches above your body, over your body, you will feel sensations right here as if the body is extended itself. Whenever your life energies become exuberant, you will see the sensory body expands. If you have not had such wonderful experiences, then I have to do something horrible to you
This much I've experienced.
If I cut your leg, even if your physical leg goes away, still the sensory leg will be intact, it's a medical fact today. Still the pain and sensations will still be there, even after the physical leg is gone. So the sensory body has an existence of its own, beyond the physical body. So the whole science of yoga is just about this. The word yoga means everything has become one. Yoga means everything has become one in your experience. How can everything become one in your experience? Modern science proves to you that the whole existence is one energy, but you don't experience it that way. Religions of the world have been screaming for a long time that God is everywhere. You don't experience it that way. So when we say yoga, that means we are not willing to settle down for scientific deductions or religious beliefs. Deductions and belief systems are not good enough for you, you want to know it. That is the problem of a seeker, he wants to know it. If you make your life energies phenomenally exuberant, you will see this sensory body can become as large as the existence itself. You will experience the whole existence as a part of yourself. That is when we say you are in yoga. Yoga does not mean standing on your head, holding your breath or twisting yourself out, no. Yoga simply means use whatever method you want to use. There's every kind of yoga. There is no activity in the world, there is no activity that human beings can perform which is not yoga. If it is done with the right sense, it will become your yoga. Because anything that leads to inclusiveness, anything that leads to help you to experience life in a larger way than the way it is, which is the longing of every human being. So if you want to have a larger slice of life, the best way is to include everything as a part of yourself. If you have for a moment included something as a part of yourself, it has always been a big experience. For most people, love is the biggest experience they have in their life because it's a moment of inclusion. On the level of their emotion, they included. That's what made them feel that it's such a profound experience for them. It could have happened in so many different ways. If it finds a pure, basic physical expression, then we call that sexuality. If it finds an emotional expression, we call this love, this longing to include. If it finds a mental, psychological expression, generally in the society it gets labeled as ambition, conquest. If it finds a conscious expression, then we call it yoga. So yoga is not different from what you're doing with your life already. Already with your life, you're trying to include more and more. But if you go by physical means, it'll only lead to conquest and conflict. So yoga means you sit here and the whole existence becomes you, not even yours, it becomes you. See, right now, what you're experiencing as myself are the things that you have gathered, isn't it? This physical body is something that you accumulated through the food that you ate. What you call as my mind is an accumulation of impressions. So what you have gathered, you're experiencing as myself. If you gather the whole existence into yourself by expanding the sensory body, then everything is yourself. Is this possible? Is this some kind of a thing for people, somebody who is living in the Himalayan cave? No. Wherever you are, it is possible within you if you keep your life energies exuberant enough. When I say exuberant enough, by doing the Shambhavi Mahamudra and other Isha Yoga practices, there have been moments in your life when you have felt something within you which is not physical, which is not of the body, which is not of the mind, another dimension which reverberated within you, which is far bigger than the mind or the body.
But it's a fleeting experience.
So it is just a peep. It is just a peep at the creation, or it is just a peep at the source of creation. Now you want it to be a continuous experience. If you can have a peek into something for a moment, is it difficult to open the door and look at it all the time? It is just a question of inclination and ability to hold yourself there, isn't it? So is that possible? It is possible for every human being. Every human being is equally capable of knowing the source of his existence, of knowing the nature of his existence. When it comes to outside realities, all of us may not be equally capable. When it comes to inside realities, you are as capable as I am. It has not happened because your attention is somewhere else. So does it mean to say, I have to change my whole life? No. What you do with the outside is one thing. What you do with the inside is totally different. That's why people ask me, how much of yoga should I do? I say 24 hours. You shouldn't do anything other than yoga. You should make your, running your family into yoga, going to your office into yoga, your business into yoga, your very process of breathing and every step that you take into yoga. It is not about doing something, one particular practice which is yoga. You make every aspect of your life as a stepping stone for a higher possibility. That is the essence of Isha Yoga. That is what is produce the results for you. It is not about doing a particular practice. It is just that you're beginning to use every aspect of your life as a process of growth, not as a process of entanglement. That is the essence of yoga. So, if you use your intelligence to reach towards your ultimate nature, here we call this Jnana Yoga, yoga of intelligence. If you use your emotion to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call this Bhakti Yoga, yoga of devotion and love. If you use your physical body to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call this Karma Yoga, yoga of action. If you transform your inner energies and try to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call that Kriya Yoga, yoga of transforming energies. These are the only four things you can do. It doesn't matter which religion you are, what philosophies you're following, these are the only four things you can do. You can either use your body or your mind or your emotion or your energies, there's nothing else you can use. So the problem right now is, people are trying to do any one of them. I must tell you this story. This is a wonderful story from the yogic law. On a certain day, 4 men were walking in this forest. One of them is a Jnana yogi, one who takes the intelligence path. Another is a Bhakti yogi, one who is a devotee. Another is a Karma yogi, a man of action. Another is a Kriya yogi, who transforms his inner energies. They cannot be together usually because they can never be together. They don't agree with anything. But today they were walking together. Why I'm saying they cannot agree with anything is, a man of intellect, one who uses and employs his intellect excessively, who thinks logically, for him, a devotee looks utterly stupid. Utterly stupid. Somebody who is trying to walk looking up at the God that he believes in sounds very, very stupid. He cannot get along with him. A devotee has pity for the man of intellect because when God is here, instead of holding his hand and walking, what is all this hair splitting he is doing? Such a waste of life.
He's having more fun.
A man of action thinks all these philosophies are just a concoction of lazy people. Because if you want something to happen, you got to do it. Just do it, you know. If you want really something to happen, you have to do it. So, man of action has total disdain for other people. A Kriya Yogi, one who transforms his energies, has a certain mastery over his energies, he has absolute disdain for all these three people, because after all, the whole existence is energy. If you do not transform your energy, where do you go? You can't go anywhere. Because of these attitudes, these four people cannot get together, but today they were walking together and suddenly a rainstorm broke loose. Rain and winds severely happening, so they started running looking for a shelter, and they found an old temple. The temple was in a dilapidated condition. All the walls had collapsed, only 4 columns were standing and a roof and a deity in the center. So these people ran into the temple, not in love for God, just escaping the storm. So they ran in, then the rain started lashing from every direction and there was no place to stand there, so they got closer and closer. Then there is no other way to escape the rain, they just hugged the deity and sat down, all 4 of them. God appeared. Then, in all their minds, the same question, why now? We did so much worship, so much yoga, so many things. You didn't come then, why now? Then God said, at last you 4 idiots got together. That's all that happened with you. You understand? Your mind is running away somewhere, your emotion in a different direction, your body is doing its own thing, your energies, you don't know what's happening. In that condition, it won't work. Unless you put these 4 wheels together, only then you can drive this somewhere. If the 4 wheels of your car are facing in different directions, if you try to make a journey, it'll be torturous. Then what would you choose after some time? You will choose to live in a stationary car. It's very safe actually, really, believe me.
But does willingness or receptivity also come into this, or is there more to it? I mean, okay, everything's happening, the mind, the body, it's all… but there's something that still says in me, isn't there more I should be doing, or something else? Or something I'm not doing right?
You must have noticed that sometimes with some people I'm very gentle, with some very rough. Sometimes the point has to be made, people don't get it that simply. They're so wrapped up in their own conditioning of the mind. Whatever you say, whatever you do, they keep going back to their old patterns because the old patterns have such a power on their life. The very way they think, feel, understand and act and perceive life is determined by their old impressions. If you have to break that, sometimes you need a more forceful approach. It's gently forceful.
Sadhguru, how do likes and dislikes fit into this, and comfort?
Are you comfortable on the rock?
I am.
So it's not that yogis don't like comfort, they're extremely comfortable. They're absolutely comfortable, I'm absolutely comfortable within myself. So where I am, in what kind of physical situations I am, is not an issue for me. So this seeking of outside comfort, it doesn't matter what type of sofa you sit on, you can still be uncomfortable, isn't it? And it's ecologically expensive, terribly expensive. Human beings trying to be comfortable, they're just burning up the whole planet. If people were comfortable where they are, they would have only done what is needed. They wouldn't have done life in excess, isn't it?
It's a comfort zone also that seems like it kicked out, you know, like just the box was
See,
small.
these are all terms coined by people who are never comfortable. They have formed a small niche or a cocoon of their own which they think they're comfortable in. I'm saying, if you're not comfortable in this universe, you don't have much place to stay, isn't it?
Very limited.
I'm asking this planet, right now your very body is a piece of this planet. Why are you not comfortable on this planet? You have to be in a particular room to be comfortable, you have to be in a particular space. That is a terrible limitation, isn't it? Nature has put sufficient limitations upon human beings. You don't have to invent new limitations. The moment you get trapped in, I like this, I don't like this, you're just dividing the world. The moment you fragment the world, your ability to experience it is gone. The moment I say, this rock is good, this rock is not good, my ability to experience what I think is not good is finished, isn't it? And my ability to experience what I think is good is also finished. See, if I think you are a good person, I will not see you the way you are, I will see you the way I like it. If I think you're a bad person, immediately I start seeing things which don't exist. If you think something is good, you lose contact with reality. If you think something is bad, you lose contact with reality. If you like something, you lose touch with reality. If you dislike something, you lose touch with reality. Only if you see everything the way it is, you're in touch with reality. And reality is the only doorway to the beyond. If you want to go somewhere, you can only start from where you are right now, isn't it?
This has been a shift since I've been here for me. I'll catch myself putting these labels on, I don't like this, I like this. And there's also something there now that says, why? Why are you labeling? It's fine. And it's a different experience than it was.
I'm not talking about being judgmental or non-judgmental, not those kind of things. All I'm saying is, the very basis of the trap for a human being is likes and dislikes. You like this, you don't like that, you're shutting off a huge part of the world for yourself. And then you wonder why you feel trapped. You have to feel trapped because you set up the trap. This is a self-made trap. Because the trap is an inside job, you need a little bit of outside help.
Sadhguru, it amazes me and everyone I know, including my doctors, that I got this well this quickly. In fact, every 6 months they're having me take these tests to see if this is really going to last. So, what is it? I'm in better shape than I was when I was 15 years younger. Is there some way to understand what this is and what it does?
So, your doctors are wondering whether this is a permanent fix? It is not. This will last only as long as you live.
Well, that'll be good enough. So what is it? Is there some way I can understand for myself how it works?
See, the human body, the understanding of human body in today's medical science is so outwardly. Nobody can cause health from outside, nor can you cause joy from outside, nor can you cause peace from outside. You may have external stimulants, but essentially it is happening from within. If you want to know this, first of all, we need to have some understanding of what this body is about. As there is a medical physiology, we have a whole yoga physiology. We can look at this body as 5 sheets or 5 layers of body. These 5 layers, we call them the physical body, the mental body, the energy body, the etheric body and the bliss body. So physical body is that which you can obviously see is an accumulation of the food that we have eaten. So the type of food that we have definitely has an impact on what type of body you gather. The next one is the mental body. When we say mind, we are not referring to any one particular part. Every cell in the body has its own intelligence. So there is a whole mental body. And these two are like, this is your hardware, that is your software. Your hardware and software are no good unless they're plugged into quality power. So the third layer of the body is the energy body. The first three, the physical, the mental and the energy body, are physical in nature. They're just getting subtler, but they're still physical in nature. The fifth layer of the body, which is referred to as the bliss body, is totally non-physical. And the fourth, which is known as the etheric body, the nearest word, we call this Vijnanamaya Kosha, the nearest word or the common word that is used is etheric, it doesn't describe that. This means it's a transitory nature, from physical to non-physical. The fifth dimension is totally non-physical. Anything that is non-physical cannot be described or defined. You can define and describe only that which is physical. So we are talking about the fifth layer of the body in terms of our experience. Whenever we are in touch with it, we feel blissful. So we are referring to it as bliss. It is like if a child touches something and if it feels hot, he won't call this by its name, he says that's hot. Just like that, due to lack of words to describe or because of the impossibility of describing a non-physical dimension, we are talking about it in terms of our experience. So we refer to it as bliss because whenever we are in touch with it, we become blissful. Now to be in touch with this, being blissful by your own nature, if this has to happen, the first three dimensions, the physical, the mental and the energy body has to be properly aligned. If you align this, you find access to the deeper core of who you are. Apart from that, if you keep your energy body in full vibrance and in proper balance, there can be no ailment either in your physical or your mental bodies. All physiological and psychological ailments can be gotten rid of if you get your energy body to full reverberance and proper balance. When I say ailments, I'm talking about only chronic ailments. Infectious diseases if you get, you have to go to the doctor and get it treated because infection is an invasion from outside. But the rest of the ailments are caused from within. Why is your own body causing an ailment for you? Because the whole body, every cell in the body is programmed to create health and well-being for you. Why is it working against you? It is working against you because something is skewed, something is out of balance. If you create the necessary balance and reverberance in the energy body, the physical and mental bodies get naturally fixed. That's exactly what's happened to you. I told you 3 months, because I saw the depth of the damage that's happened, I said 3 months. For somebody else, I may 6 months. Someone else, I may say 2 years. For someone else, I may say 2 days, depending upon what is the level of damage that's happened to the system.
Sadhguru, what about stress? I feel like it's stress that really took a toll on my life, and in America, we're all trying to manage it. We're doing everything we can not to have it. We jog, we get massages, we exercise like crazy. If that doesn't work, half the people, 40% of the people I think are taking antidepressants. At least 40% of the people I know are admittedly taking antidepressants. So how does that play into?
First, when I came to United States, wherever I went, I heard people talking about stress management. I couldn't get it because in my understanding, we only manage things which are precious to us, which are valuable to us. We manage our families, our money, our property, our businesses. We manage whatever is valuable for us. Why would anybody manage stress? It took me a while to understand that people have made a conclusion that stress is a part of their life. Stress is not a part of your life. It is not your lifestyle, it is not your work, it is not your family, it is not the situations in which you exist which is causing stress to you. It is your inability to manage your system, your lack of understanding of how this system functions, your inability to use the system the way it should be used, which is causing stress. People can be stressful in any kind of situation. It is not about this job or that job. It is not about this kind of situation or that kind of situation. People are capable of being stressful just for about anything. Now we are not looking at how to manage stress. We are not looking at how to put it down, how to keep it under the surface. I am talking about how not to create it, because stress is your creation. If you do a simple process of yoga with full depth and dimension of what it is, not the physicality of it, as it is generally practiced today, especially in the West, but it's beginning to become a worldwide phenomena, that people are beginning to practice yoga just as a physical thing or a mental thing. It is neither physical nor mental. It has got something to do with the core of your life. If all of you is not involved in the yoga that you do, if it is not being transmitted to you, it has just been taught to you, it is a bundle of instructions, not an initiation. If that is so, you are using yoga like you're using an airplane, like a car. Suppose I gave you an airplane, you don't know what it is, you knew only automobiles.
It'd stay on the ground.
So, these two things, these two ugly things are hitting your buildings and your lampposts, so you chopped off the wings and you drove around and you were happy. You are happy, your backache is gone, your thyroid problem is fixed. But I will cry, because a man who knows what it means to fly, when he sees an airplane with chopped off wings, he will cry. So right now when I see the yoga that is going on all over in a large scale, it makes me feel like crying, but then the world would be flooded because too much of it is happening, so I laugh. So right now, this is not a solution. I want you to understand, yoga is not a solution for your stress. There is no need for stress. Yoga is removal of the problem, that you don't create stress, that's all. If you don't create stress, then why do you need a solution for it? Stress is your making. It is not the situation which is making stress, it is your making. So, if your experience of life, if you get little deeper access to the experience of life within you, you will distinctly know this and you will drop it. So that is the essence of Isha Yoga.
Sadhguru, a lot of the spiritual traditions talk about the moment of death as the most significant moment of your life. Is there something to that? Is that really true?
All those moments before that moment are very important.
Every moment?
All the moments before that moment in your life are most important. If you don't realize that, it is like people trying to catch the final moment of their life. You can't. Unless you have caught lot of moments in your life as a deep, penetrating experience for yourself, you just can't catch the final moment of your life. You try this and see. Tonight, when you go to bed and you want to sleep, just see if you can maintain an awareness of the final moment of transition from wakefulness to sleep. Do that and see. If you can manage that, phenomenal things will happen in your life, phenomenal things. Things that you never imagined possible will become a reality. If you can just manage a moment of awareness, that moment when you're transiting from wakefulness to sleep, if you do that, you will also transit from life to death in full awareness. Yes, it has many implications, many consequences. But this whole idea of death, as it has been spread around in the world today, let's look at it this way. Have you Did you ever die?
No.
No, so you have no experience of it. Did you ever see a dead man?
No.
You've seen dead person? No, you might have seen dead bodies. Did you meet anyone who actually died and came back and told you, I had died like this?
I haven't.
No. There are people who have had near-death experience. Near is not good enough. I nearly ate, is it good enough?
Not at all.
So I nearly died is not good enough. I nearly lived, is it good enough?
No.
So, you haven't experienced it, you haven't seen it, nor have you had a first-hand information from anybody. So from where did you get this idea that there is something called as death? Death is a fiction created by ignorant people. Death is the creation of people who live their lives in total unawareness. There is only life, life and life alone, moving from one dimension to another dimension to another. There are many dimensions to the life process. So once that it passes the dimension of being embodied in a physical frame, we generally consider that as death. You need to understand that the moment you're born, you have a death sentence upon you. When, where and how is the only question but you're on a death row. Your death is confirmed, isn't it?
Definitely.
We don't know whether you'll get educated or not. We don't know whether you'll get married or not. We don't know whether you'll know joy or not. We don't know whether you'll know misery or not. But we know one day you will die. That one thing is guaranteed.
We don't like it though.
You don't like it because you have wrong ideas about it. There's a beautiful story in the yogic law. It is part of the Indian tradition that when someone builds a new dwelling or a house, they invite a sage or a yogi to come and bless the house. Because it's a new space, they wanted to have a certain, positive spiritual reverberance, so they always invite a sage. Yogis are invited to new homes. So they invited a yogi, a certain rich family built a beautiful house, they invited the yogi. They welcomed him wonderfully, they treated him like a king, they served him food. Then, time to leave, then both the husband and wife came and asked for a blessing. Then the yogi said, first let your parents die, then you die, then let your children die. The man freaked out. He said, you fool, we treated you like a king, and now you say, first my father should die, then I should die, then my children should die. What is this nonsense? The yogi was surprised, what did I say wrong? Would it be good if you died before your father? Or would it be good if your children die before you?
Terrible.
There is nothing wrong with death, it has to happen. Only because there is death, there is life. It is just that we are only concerned that it doesn't happen in an untimely manner, that we don't want our children to die before us. If we want it to happen in a proper order of life. If it happens in a proper order, it is beautiful, that means your life has gone well. Now this whole fear about death is simply because you have no idea about what it is. You have formed ideas about everything, just about everything. But no matter what ideas you formed about life, when you're confronted with the moment of death, you really don't know anything. That one space of life which has remained uncorrupted by human mind. Everything else we have corrupted, isn't it? Whatever was supposed to be sacred, all these things are hugely corrupted by human mind. Human minds have corrupted love, relationships, God, divinity, everything. They have corrupted it and twisted it out whichever way they want. Death is one thing that they're still clueless about. Though a lot of people would like to talk authoritatively about it, they know they're going to go to heaven, they're dead sure about it. If they're so sure, I don't see what they're waiting for.
No, they're trying not to go very soon.
They're doing everything not to go to heaven. Why? If you are so sure you're going to a wonderful place, better place than this, you must hurry up. Because you're not sure, you talk. but you're not sure 100% where you will go, what will happen to you. Just to solace yourself, just to psychologically be able to handle life, you create all these things. But essentially, the very idea of death has come to you because people have been talking about it without knowing about it. Otherwise, if your societies did not speak about it, you would just know your present existence, the way you are right now, is not permanent. That you would know, but you wouldn't have any other ideas about it. Even now you don't have, you imagine that you have.
But there's so much attachment to this. My father's 89, he's telling me, you know, he wants to live the next day and the next day, just one more sunset, one more sunset. He said, you know, I lived a full life, it just came so quick, I just don't want it to end yet, you know? So it's, you don't want to have that thing we don't know happen. This we know.
See, that's because your whole life, you're only living in your mind, not in this world. You're only thinking about life, you're not experiencing life. Just look back and see, in the last 24 hours, how many moments have you truly experienced the way they are? You're only thinking about it. So, you are a psychological existence, you are not an existential existence. Whatever happens in your mind is irrelevant because you can make anything happen. You can imagine anything and think it is true. What happens in your mind, what you think and feel, has nothing to do with the reality of life. But right now, humanity has invested so much towards what they think and feel. They've made it so important, obviously they will miss life. What this essentially means is, your own petty creation that you create in your mind has become so important for you that you are missing the magnificent creation of the Creator. You missed it all. Now at 89 you want to watch a sunset, nothing wrong, at least now you're aware of it, I'm glad. But why did you miss it for so many years? Because you're too busy with your own petty creation in your mind, isn't it? This body is just a piece of this earth. It has popped up from this earth and it'll go back to this earth. Right now you're sitting here. Before you and me came here on this planet, countless number of people have walked this planet, isn't it? Where are they? All topsoil. This one will also be topsoil unless someone buries you real deep, fearing that you may rise from the dead. So, this body right now is a debt that you have taken from the planet, it's a loan from the planet. Let's say I give you $1 million loan today. I won't, I'm just telling you.
Why not?
And in 10 years' time, you made this 1 million into 100 million. And after 10 years, if I come looking for you, what would you do with me?
I'd give you $1 million back.
You would welcome me, you would welcome me. I'm your dear friend, isn't it?
Yes.
You would welcome me gladly and give back my million and maybe give me an extra million and send me. Suppose I gave you 1 million today and in 10 years' time you squandered it completely and you lost everything. And if I come looking for you, what do?
I'd
Terror.
hope you die first.
Terror. When a debtor comes, it's worse than death for most people, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is just the same. This is a loan from the planet. If you have done something truly wonderful out of it, when the moment to pay back the loan comes, you would give it back joyfully. If you have done something truly significant and wonderful things out of it. Otherwise, when the moment to pay back the loan comes, you will shiver in your pants. So, how you die in many ways indicative of how you have lived within yourself. It's in that context they might have said the significance of the last moment. And the last moment is significant because if you can maintain awareness at that moment, the quality of that moment endures beyond that. You can try this with your sleep. Tonight when you go to sleep, create a very loving atmosphere within yourself. Really be conscious and loving and fall asleep that way with a big smile on your face. you will see that quality will perpetuate through the night. When you wake up in the morning, you will see that quality radiating out of you. So, Eastern cultures have always made this happen, that you must sleep in a particular way, you must wake up in a particular way. For all this, they've fixed particular methods as to how to do it. Yoga and spiritual processes have specific ways of how to go to bed, how to wake up in the morning. This is why. Because it will perpetuate through. When that moment of transition is of a certain quality, naturally that quality endures. So when that moment of death is of a certain level of awareness or pleasantness, naturally that pleasantness and awareness will endure. Because when you're here in this embodied form, when you are here with this body and this conscious intellect, you have a discriminatory mind. Right now, whatever is offered to you, you can choose. But once you have left your body and your discriminatory mind, after that you don't have choices, you only move by tendencies. Whatever your tendency is, accordingly you will move.
So are you saying we're less conscious when we drop our bodies? See, there's always been this, harboring this hope that…
It is not about being conscious or
maybe
not conscious.
you'd know something
You
when
have
you dropped
lost
your
your
body.
discriminatory intellect. Now that there's a discriminatory intellect, if I give you a mud ball and an apple, you can look at this and eat the apple, not the mud ball. But once you don't have a discriminatory intellect, you go according to your tendencies. Even right now, so many people on this planet are causing misery to themselves, not because they want to, they're going by their tendencies, they have become compulsive. Compulsiveness simply means that you're not exercising your discriminatory intellect. You're not aware enough to do that. That is true even now for most people. If people were exercising their discriminatory capabilities, if they were aware enough to do that, would you choose misery or joy?
Never, never choose misery, always
You would
choose
never
joy.
choose misery, isn't it? Nobody would be miserable on the planet then, if they exercise the discriminatory quality of their intellect. So that final moment, if you create a certain tendency of pleasantness, then beyond, what is beyond the body, that transition will be very pleasant. It's based on this, when a person is dying, when a person is near death, generally in almost every culture this awareness is there to some extent, that at that time, that's not the time for anger, that's not the time for, remorse, that's not the time for hatred. All those things you drop and do the best that you can do to create a pleasant atmosphere around him. It once happened, there were two sisters who had a feud between them. And they had not spoken to each other for 35 years.
Wow.
So, this is Matilda and Lucia. Matilda, at the age of 87, was about to die. She was on her deathbed. Then Lucia came to see her. Matilda looked at her and said, "Okay, I'm going to die. So if I die, all that I hold against you is forgiven. But just in case if I make it, it's all the way… just the way it was." Everything is just the way it was. You better know that. So we waste life and try to make use of death, you cannot do that. If you maintain a certain level of awareness right through your life, the moment of passing also can happen in your awareness. You live a life of unawareness and you expect that moment to be aware. Such things don't happen to people.
Sadhguru, is there such a thing as immortality?
See, the very idea of life being what it is has come to you only because of the mortal nature of what it is right now. The spiritual process for a human being always begins only when he thinks about death, not when he thinks about God. When he thinks about God, he only thinks of living better, having more things, having a better life, having an easy ride. But the moment he starts contemplating on his mortal nature, that's when he begins to think, what is this all about?
It's true for me.
What is before this? What is beyond this? So, mortality or mortal nature of life is not a curse, it's a blessing. What we need to understand is, what you call as my body is something that you have gathered. What is the big deal about giving it back? You're making it such a big deal because you are so identified with things that you're gathered. You become that. In your experience of life, you have become the things that you have gathered. Because you have become that which you have gathered, this is the essence of ignorance. This is the essence of pain, this is the essence of misery, this is the essence of suffering, that you believe yourself to be something that you are not. This is the essence of chattering mind. People come and ask me again and again, Sadhguru, I try to meditate, my mind is going all over the place. The moment you identify yourself with something that you're not, your mind will not stop for a moment. You do what you want. The only way to stop it is either shoot you in the head or you come to an awareness as to what is you and what is not you. If you come to that, mind will become utterly still. If I sit here for 5 days, I will sit here without a single thought. That may sound dumb to you, but no, because life, the phenomena of life is far bigger than thought. What can you think? The creation is so big. Life is such a absolutely unfathomable phenomena, but now you're engrossed in your own thought because you're identified with things that you're not and you're helplessly trapped in thought. Because you're trapped in thought, now you have to glorify that, otherwise you'll feel like a fool. Right now, the thought process, humanity has paid such importance to thought process to a point where somebody went to the extent of saying, I exist because I think. It's not so. You can think because you do exist. Your existence is first, but that's been completely missed. Because the experience of your existence has been missed, whatever you have gathered in the form of body and mind has become so important. Now dropping it has become such a big problem. Once you're existentially here, that is, your experience of life is beyond the limitations of what you have gathered, that is, beyond the limitations of your physical body and your thought process and mind, then living and dying are not two different phenomena. They're the same. Every moment, you can say, right now I'm living, or you can say I'm dying, because you're actually dying. One day the process will be complete, but you're actually dying. You may do many things in your life, you may do them or you may not do them. This is one thing you will do. You need to understand, from your birth till the last moment, you are walking in a straight line, straight towards death. You may look this way at the mountains, you may look that way at the lake, you may look at relationships, you may fall in love, you may suffer, you may enjoy, but essentially every moment of your life, you're walking straight towards your grave. So that is the most inevitable thing. And that's the only thing which enhances the quality of your life. I am not saying you must choose to die. Death does not need your assistance. Because whenever death happens, it happens with absolute efficiency. Death is always super efficient. It's only life which needs our assistance. It is only life that can be enhanced constantly. So your focus is on life, but unless you embrace death, you cannot live. If you try to avoid death, all that will happen to you is, you will end up avoiding life. If you are every moment afraid, what will happen to me, or will I die, you will only avoid life. You will not avoid death. Because what you call as death is just a transition of life, which has to happen. So immortality is a very immature idea. Unless you go beyond the physicality of life, everything that is not physical is always immortal. It is only the physicality which is mortal. So if your experience of life right now transcends the limitations of the physical, you're already immortal. I'm immortal because I don't exist. I am immortal because I am not identified with my physical body. I enjoy my body, I use my body, but I'm constantly aware that it is only an accumulation. Any day I have to drop it. So this is immortality. In awareness, you're immortal. Only in unawareness, you are mortal.
Sadhguru, there's so many choices that we have about our life. More choices I'm seeing, the more aware I get. Can it also get to a point where we have choices about our death, how we die, or is there any way that we have some kind of choice?
We need to understand this. Everything that you can experience is life. What you call as death also is life. So if there are choices about death, they're definitely… what you're referring to as death is just the last moment of life. So that final moment when you transcend the limitations of your physical body, that happens only once in your lifetime. Almost everything in your life may happen many times over, but this one thing happens only once in your lifetime. And it's the last thing that you do. The last thing that you do in your life is death. So I want you to understand death as life, not something else. So this is the last act of your life. Is it not important that you choose to make it happen gracefully and wonderfully? Is it not very important?
Very important.
If you are fearful of it, if you're ignorant of the ways of life and you create resistance towards it, naturally you will miss that possibility. Spiritual process, people on the spiritual path choose the time, date and place of their death. The yogi always wants to know the time and date of his death ahead of time. He fixes it many years ahead. He says, on this day, at this time I will leave. And he leaves because he has created the necessary awareness within himself to live consciously. Leaving this body consciously, without damaging this body, like you take off your clothes and walk away, like that you take off your body and walk away. If you can do that, that is the ultimate possibility in your life. Once you have gained this much awareness to know where you as a being and this physical body which you gathered, where it's connected, where is the connection, what is the hold? Once you know this, if your awareness has grown to such a point, then you can disentangle yourself whenever the moment is right for you. So is this suicide? Definitely not. Suicide happens out of frustration, out of anger, out of fear, out of inability to bear with suffering. This is neither suicide nor euthanasia. This is about being so aware that when the life has completed its complete cycle, you know that it has completed that and you walk out of it. You walk out of this. And this is not death either. This is known as samadhi, where a human being has developed sufficient awareness within himself where he can separate himself from the physicality that he has gathered and as to who he is. So in that level of awareness, one can live. If such a level of awareness, if you do not attain, at least you can make that last moment very graceful, pleasant and joyful and blissful for yourself, if you manage certain things. So when we say a spiritual process, we are not just helping people to live well. I also help people to die well. Helping people to die well does not mean we will assist them to die as euthanasia enthusiasts are talking about. Not in that sense. Helping people to die means that that moment of passing from physicality to beyond, from being embodied to being disembodied, it is very important it has to happen in utmost awareness and grace. So we can create that moment for every human being if that human being is willing to cooperate and willing to pay some attention to himself now. So if one wants to exercise this choice, certain amount of preparation is needed. As I said earlier, if you can manage this, if you can every day practice this, that you move from your wakefulness to sleep, in awareness, if you manage that, this last moment of passing from life to death will happen absolutely gracefully for you. There are other methods also. In India, always people choose, traditionally people choose not to die with their loved ones. Because if you die among your family, so many emotions will come. Naturally, you'll try to cling to life. You will not allow it to happen gracefully. So people travel to faraway places which are considered spiritually vibrant, and they want to shed their body in that space. This has been traditionally so. Even today, thousands of people still do this. This may be completely unthinkable in the West because they want to die in the comfort of their family. That is not a wise thing. It is truly wise for a person to choose a space which is spiritually conducive, which is vibrant in a certain way, and he lives there with as much grace as possible. If you lived your life with grace, it becomes extremely important that you die with grace.
Sadhguru, I really want to leave by my choice. Is this in the realm of possibility for somebody like me who comes here so identified? Is it still?
It definitely is for you. Definitely is for you.
कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि।